We are going to take your questions and try to answer them all about what it is like to live on the road full time.
Beto says, at average, what is the cost to live in an RV and traveling?
So Beto, we actually publish on our website, we'retherussos.com, as well as on this YouTube channel, what our monthly costs are. If you go back a few videos, you'll see we did a wrap up of our year-end costs.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, it was costing us about what, 2,900 a month. And how much it's going to cost for anyone is really going to depend on how you choose to live. We were moving around a lot. We were going different places. So gas expense really went up. But there's insurance, health insurance. There's a lot of factors.
Now, one question I know we always get quite a bit is, how do you deal with each other in such a tiny space?
Oh, yeah.
And do you schedule time apart? So we've met a lot of full-timers on the road that schedule days during the week where they spend time away from each other.
Yeah, one will actually go to a coffee shop and work while the other one stays in the RV. For us, we had a bit of a transition period in going from the house and working full time, being away from each other 10, 12 hours a day, to being in this tight spot 24/7. And once we were able to finally get on the page, or on the same page together, it really started working for us. But before that, we had a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Well, what we didn't account for when we moved into full-time RV life is, we were spending so much time away from each other, at least 40 to 60 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
And we both traveled for work at the time when we were working in corporate America. So going from spending that much time apart to being with each other 24 hours a day, 7 days a week was an adjustment.
Yeah.
And that's something people don't take into consideration, especially if you're going to be retiring and living together full time. Not just at home, but, in an RV too.
Yeah.
So.
And I will say, Kate mentioned spending time alone. We talked about doing that, and a lot of you who have been subscribers for a while knew we were talking about buying a Class B van and driving with the Jeep behind us so that each one of us could have our alone time. We actually tried that with the Class A. We drove the Jeep separately, and we didn't like being apart. We haven't liked being apart, and the few times that we're still at my mother's house, we're about to take off again soon, but the few times we've been apart, we can't wait to see each other again.
Yeah. How often do you eat out? That's a great question. We don't eat out very often. I love to cook, and those of you who've been following us for a long time, we make almost every meal at home. The only time we really go out is if we end up in a city where they're known for something. So when we were driving from Ohio to California, we stopped in Kansas City and St. Louis to get barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
And, we know we want to go to Philadelphia for a Philly cheesesteak and Maine for lobsters. So when we go to an area that's known for something, we'll stop in and eat out and spend the money. But for the most part, we eat at home. Todd asks, what is the best or average time you stay in one location?
When we started, we were only spending a couple days here or there and moving quite a lot. Not only was that hard on the checkbook because of all the gas we were putting in the RV, but it was tough on us because we would get someplace and then constantly be looking for the next place to go and stay. And it was actually a lot of stress.
Mm-hmm.
It really bothered me. But once we got down into Florida, we started spending more and more time in one place and came to find that a good amount of time for us is 7 to 10 days. I think after 10 days, we start to get a little bored and, we're ready to get back on the road. But 7 days is perfect to see the area, get a feel for it, and be relaxed,
Mm-hmm.
not rushing to see everything.
What is the biggest frustration with RV life aside from repairs?
I mean, for us, repairs wasn't a big frustration. Unless we had something serious happen, it's more about planning things out. So if you know that there are things that you need to repair that aren't critical to get you to the next spot, just call ahead, make a reservation a couple months in advance, and slowly make your way down there. But beyond that, for me, the biggest frustration in the beginning was trying to get along with Kate. It was the whole transition period. But aside from that, there really haven't been a lot of big frustrations. When something does frustrate us, we tend to move on and go elsewhere.
Yeah. Let's see. Beto asks, do you normally stay in a trailer park or out in the wild?
We do a split. So when the weather is really nice, we like to stay in places off the beaten path, BLM, Forest Service land, especially because it's free, it's quiet, and you don't have a lot of
Mm.
people really close in. But when you do get to the summer months or really cold winter months, and you need to either run your heater or AC, especially when you have a dog in the RV, we found it better to stay at RV parks.
Absolutely.
There were a few times where we were on our way through the Midwest, stopped at a Cracker Barrel, and it was, God, what was it, like 90, 100 out, and 100% humidity. We
That's
ended up,
bad.
yeah, we ended up running the generator all night to have the AC on. The problem with that is we spent more money in gas running the generator than it would have, a night at an RV park.
And if your bedroom is on top of the generator,
It was
it's a
loud.
little loud. Yeah. And Todd asked a great question: do you get discounts for 7+ days at RV parks or any campground? And
Yeah.
absolutely. And you'd be surprised, sometimes you can get discounts even for shorter stays. Most of the campgrounds offer daily, weekly, and monthly, and also seasonal fees. And it's just a matter of checking their website or calling them to find out what kind of discounts they offer. And a lot of times, if you belong to a Good Sam or Passport America, things like that, you'll get additional discounts as well. And what I found is, it never hurts to ask if they're offering a discount, especially during off season. You'd be surprised.
I thought this was a great question. Marcus asks, what do you do about a flat tire, AAA or fix it yourself? Uh, in an RV, most RVs, you're not going to be able to fix the tire yourself. You're either going to need to call some sort of roadside assistance. If you do have the tools to get the tire off, you'll need to have a wheel and tire there. Most of the time, it's not just a simple nail in the tire type of fix. Most RV tires, when they go, they blow. So they're completely unrecoverable. You have to replace the whole thing, and hopefully you didn't damage anything else. For us, we carried a spare, which in a Class A is very rare. We had a Roadmaster spare tire carrier, and if we got into trouble and we needed to put it on, I had the tools to take a tire off and put the other on. The hydraulics on the RV are enough to raise a wheel off the ground, so we could do it. But for most people, you would have to call some sort of roadside assistance. We had roadside assistance through Ford.
Mm-hmm.
It came with our new motorhome, and they would come out and actually change the tire for us. There are some that will bring a tire to you, that is, if they have the tire. A lot of RV tires are very specific sizes, and the roadside assistance people don't carry those, so you may have to wait a week or two to get one.
Yeah.
Brian asks, what piece of gear would be indispensable for full timing? What piece do you most wish you had but don't yet? Anything come to mind?
Hmm.
I would say offhand, this is for full timing or anyone, is having some sort of EMS, electrical management system. We got the progressive EMS for our coach, and I think going to all the different RV parks around the country, some have great electrical setup, others terrible. So when it's hot during the day or at night, when everyone turns the TV and AC and everything else on, the power in the park drops, and an EMS protects you from brownouts, electrical spikes. We've been in a lot of electrical storms. Stuff like that is absolutely indispensable because you don't want your coach to get ruined.
And the one piece that I wish I had that I don't is unlimited data.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. If we had unlimited data, I'd be jumping for joy right now.
Yeah. One day. Let's see. Mel asks, how do you deal with bad weather such as tornado warnings?
Mel, if you haven't seen it, check in our on our channel for the tornado warning video we put up. It's scary. We've been caught in a couple tornado warnings. We were in an area where a tornado touched down, 30 miles from us?
Mm-hmm.
And it is very scary. We got prepared to bug out. We got Leo all set. We packed some essential things in a backpack, and we were going to run into a casino that we were parked at. We called them up and said, hey, can we bring our stuff and our dog inside the casino if this tornado gets close? And they said, absolutely. That was good. If we were out in the middle of nowhere, we just would have hunkered down.
Mm-hmm. And we also had our walkie-talkie, which has the radio band, or the weather report on it as well.
Yes.
And that came in very handy.
So we were able to listen to it while we were there, and it was telling us where the storm was, what to watch out for. We also have a couple weather apps. Kate just found a new one.
Hmm.
We check those all the time. So if there is tornado type weather, we either try to stay away from it or we get prepared beforehand so we're not like running through the rain.
Does your insurance cover contents?
It does. So our insurance is a full timers policy. What that means is it's kind of like an auto policy slash homeowners insurance policy mixed in together. So it covers not only damage to the RV, theft, things like that, but it also covers the contents inside. We can select an amount for that coverage. And then I think there are specific items if you have in your RV, like jewelry and things like that, you have to get riders to go along with that. So very similar to homeowners insurance. David
says, Happy New Year's. My question is full-time boondocking in nature parks. Is LP better or worse than diesel and generators?
Ooh, I would say it really depends on the park. Some places will let you run your generator and they don't care. Diesel overall tends to be much more quiet than LP or gas. A lot of people in trailers have those Honda generators, and those are very quiet. So I think a lot of it comes down to your personal preference. I would definitely say if I was going to take one over the other, either one of the small Honda generators just to run lights and things, or a diesel generator, which are for the most part a lot more quiet. But you know, there are always exceptions. We've heard some really loud diesel generators.
Yes, we have.
But they're on the flip side, they're stinky. So you don't want to be outside while the generator is running.
Now, Jerry asks, do you put your attached awning in every night or do you leave it out?
We tend to bring it in. There have been times I forget to, bring it back in. We've left it out overnight. But having been at a lot of RV parks during storms and things, you will see people who forget to put their awning in, and that thing is like swinging all over the place. We've seen a couple that have been torn off. It's best practice, we think, is to bring it in. There are wind sensors on them, but I rarely see the wind sensor working when it should.
Yeah, let's see. Eric has a good question. He says, if you want access to most parks and boondocking places, what's the best average size for an RV?
I would say in general, a lot of the parks we've been to, size really isn't a concern. The national parks on the other side tend to be much older campgrounds. And we found, I think, 30 and below to be the best size. Plus, you should plan on being self-contained. Most of the federal campgrounds are dry docking or dry camping. So if you don't have a way with solar or other things, you're either going to be running your generator all the time and they have limited hours to do that, or you're going to be leaving right away to dump your tanks all the time. So just, again, something to consider. Smaller, bigger tanks, solar, a way to kind of survive on your own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I think one thing that's worth addressing is mail, because we get asked that question.
Oh, yes.
I say on a weekly basis is how do we get mail?
So we belong to Escapees. They are an RV club. They are based in Texas, but they also have offices in Florida and South Dakota. Mm-hmm. And they have a few functions, one of which is we belong to them and we use them as our address. All of our mail goes there, and then wherever we are in the country, they can forward the mail to us. All we have to do is give them a call and say, hey, we're going to be in this place. Can you send all of our mail there? They have some cool features where if you're going to be staying at a campground, let's say all summer long, you can just have them send out your mail, let's say every week. And you keep a postage balance with them. Once that postage balance reaches a certain level, you go in, replenish it, and then they'll keep sending your mail. The other cool feature they have, especially for people that need their mail right away, is they have a scanning service. So they'll go, open your email, scan it for you, and email it to you. You can call them and say, hey, has my bank statement come in? I really need to see it. They will go check your folder. Yes, it's come in, scan it for you, but those things do come at an extra cost.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing we do is general delivery at the U.S. Post Office. Mm-hmm. We don't do it often because a lot of times we don't stay in a place long enough to be able to pick up the mail, but that's also another option. And if you are Amazon, if you guys use Amazon like we do, they also have lockers in major metropolitan cities that come in really handy.
Mm-hmm. If you have other questions we haven't answered about living on the road full time, leave those in the comment section below. And thank you so much. We will see you next time.